I am an ethno-nationalist. I believe in my people. I support my people. And my people are my relatives, near and distant. They are related to me by blood. That is not true for a civic nationalist. He believes in values, that anyone who shares his values can be his countryman. The problem with values is that they change. Australia is a monarchy. Does that mean that Republicans are not Australians? Or does it mean that if we become a republic, that monarchists are not Australian? I've lost count of how many Australian Prime Ministers I have heard say that Australia is a multicultural country and that multiculturalism is an important Australian value. But I do not support it, endorse it, or approve of it. Am I still an Australian? Taken to its logical conclusion, no, I am not. Civic nationalism has not progressed to that point yet, although it is entirely logical for it to go to that point. You see, to the civic nationalist, your nationality is, at this point, is about getting the paperwork right. You have a birth certificate stating that you were born in Australia, then you're an Australian. You have a citizenship certificate stating that you're an Australian citizen, then you're an Australian. As long as you have the paperwork right, then you're sweet. Here, however, is where civic nationalism leaves what it believes, which is values, and puts in its place good administration. For if someone opposes Australian values, the civic nationalist still cannot bring himself to react. He may criticise, he may threaten, but doing something means that his position is not as iron-tight as he at first thought. Take, for example, Australian citizens who have gone to fight with ISIS. Australian military personnel have fought against ISIS, so fighting alongside ISIS means that you are fighting against Australia and her allies. At worst, that's treason. But since World War II, it seems treason is not fashionable, so no one will be charged with that. How about simply renouncing their citizenship? Ironically, I think in this case, most ethnic nationalists would support this, but for civic nationalists, it raises a whole heap of problems. It might even show their case to be unsupportable. It certainly proves that paperwork is more important than values. Let me take this one step further to illustrate my point. Let us say that all those who are ethnically French decide to move to Germany en masse. Now let us also say that those who are ethnically German decide to move to France, again en masse. To an ethno-nationalist, the French remain French and the Germans remain Germans. To a civic nationalist, the French are now Germans and the Germans are now French, as long as they decided to do the paperwork correctly. The New York Times would have articles on how French cooking has changed in France, but traces of it can still be found in Germany. Civic nationalism is sadly a tool of liberalism, and it all leads to people not having any nationality. But instead, we will all be unique individuals, just like everyone else.